You're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. It's more fun to believe. Third year bonus. And we're off and running, aren't we? It sounds like we're off and running. Hey, everybody, this is Ryan Singer. Thank you for listening to another 30-year bonus solo edition of the Mindcast / podcast, Me and Paranormal You. I'm happy to be here. It's a little chilly. I got my hoodie on. I got my Crystallize All Hemp Hoodie, Crystallize app downloaded on iPhone, on Android. You can download it for free. Do a 5-star review. Do us a favor so more people can find it. And if you do a 5-star review, you are entered into a raffle. Our first raffle is tomorrow, or actually today, I suppose. And then our next raffle will be coming up soon after that. So thank you to the people who have already done that. We really appreciate it. Today, what are we going to talk about? I mean, it's all paranormal stuff all the time around here. I mean, unless I get sidetracked, which often happens. But I'm going to be making a trip here soon, this weekend, and then I'll be going back to Ohio for some investigation at Poasttown Elementary School with Matthew Jackson, who was just on the program this week. He'll be coming over from Indiana, joining Karen Rontowski and I, doing some more investigations. And I have very pointed questions I'm going to be asking in the investigation, as it will be my third official investigation at Poasttown. I've been uncovering some very fascinating, potentially very interesting details as I go through the documentary footage, and we work through, getting that up and running, getting some kind of semblance of, what this is going to look like, what stories are unfolding throughout the footage. And so I'll be conducting more interviews, et cetera, et cetera. And it's so funny. I was talking to my buddy Ed Brown today. Ed is been on the program, and Sit Down with Ed Brown is the name of his podcast. You can find that on YouTube. He was part of the original expedition. He organized the original expedition to go to Florida 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now. Holy shnikes. 3 years ago, we were down in Florida. And he was telling me he was having a random phone conversation earlier this afternoon, because he just calls me immediately and he's like, I got to tell you about something. He talks to someone who I will be connected with very soon, hopefully, who had the exact, a very similar experience. He said, I've only heard this kind of experience one time firsthand, and it's my buddy. I got to tell him about it, because it's the only other time he's ever heard about, like the type of scream, the high pitched scream. So I hopefully will be talking to this person who is a former park ranger, sometime soon. I got some emails out to people. I was having correspondences with, some fun guests to be on the show. So still waiting, anticipating. Currently reading this book. If you're watching on YouTube right now, this is Real Magic by Dr. Dean Radin, a parapsychologist. I am blazing through this book. I think I've spent 4 nights reading it, and I'm 3/4 of the, over halfway done for sure. What an excellent book. And it really ties a lot of things in together. I previously, the last book I read was The Complete Secret Cipher of the Unifies by Alan Greenfield, which is a combination of his Men in Black book with The Secret Cipher of the Unifies book. Combine those into one giant book. And we've talked about that over the last few weeks, about what my thoughts on Greenfield's book, about how it ties into, my general idea and my theory about, which isn't a brand new theory by any stretch of the imagination. It's like I started this idea that all paranormal phenomena are connected, whether it's ghosts, Bigfoot, aliens, telepathy, all psychokinetic abilities, all this stuff to me is connected and is powered through consciousness, which is the engine. And you have Dr. Stephen Greer talking about consciousness being the engine between or behind, UFOs and aliens' advanced technology. You have Greenfield talking about how the occult, specifically Crowley's book, The Law of One, and the Secret Cipher, so in these occult rituals that you can do to summon and actually have UFO or you can have alien interactions by going to different aethers. And then you get into Dean Radin's book, Real Magic. So what does this have to do with the paranormal? Well, Radin is laying out his argument, the best I can tell, as I'm not finished with the book, so I don't know how it concludes, that paranormal phenomena is all magic. And so when you're talking about trying to find a unifying theory in the world of paranormal, which we've talked about before, wouldn't it be great to have a unifying theory? And this is kind of what, we've been headed toward here on this show. I mean, you talk to people for 8 years. You listen to 8 years worth of this podcast, the Mindcast. I think you start to understand that there are themes, there are common threads in all of these different stories, whether I'm talking to someone who's a member of the Freemasons or the Rosicrucians, or if I'm talking to someone who grew up in a haunted house, or if I'm talking to someone who suspects they may have had alien abductions, whether I'm talking to a quantum healer, or whether I'm psychics, tarot readers, witches, who, people who are anthropologists and are just, into cryptozoology, you start to hear similarities, themes that are popping up throughout those 8 years. So, I mean, that I feel like this is really where we've been led to on this journey. I had no idea that I would 8 years later be talking about Bigfoot being connected to ghosts or aliens being connected to the occult. I didn't anticipate any of that, right? And obviously I think that is where the paranormal field is headed. And if you read these books and if you listen to what these people have dedicated their lives to, their specific areas of study, who are now branching out, and you've got Ron Moorhead, who wrote The Quantum Bigfoot. Ron Moorhead, of course, one of the most well-known, famous Bigfoot researchers in the world. The Sierra Sounds were recorded by Ron in his hunting and his expedition. The most famous Bigfoot sounds in the world. Ron Moorhead got those. Ron Moorhead's book, which I've read, Quantum Bigfoot, also talks about Bigfoot tying into quantum physics. And when you start looking at quantum physics, you start hearing similar things about ancient esoteric wisdom, Hermeticism. It all starts wrapping itself around itself, right? With all these different tentacles. Consciousness is the body. All the different tentacles are the paranormal, the occult, ufology, parapsychology, esotericism, ancient knowledge. It's really kind of mind-blowing. And it's starting to feel like there's some more clarity here. Now, and by clarity, I mean big picture clarity, no clarity at all on the details of the how or the why or the who's or the what's. I can't tell you any of that. I'm not equipped to do such a thing, not at this time. And I'm not sure I anticipate I will ever be equipped to tell you that. To give you, I'm not going to be able to ever give you the answers to everything you're looking for. That's for sure. I mean, I got my own questions over here, man. I got my own questions over here because, we can get into theosophy, and I was one time a member of the Theosophical Society, so I was getting Quest, their publication that they send out. It's really interesting, cool stuff. And now you have these secret chiefs, right? These secret masters. And now you have Dean Radin laying out parapsychology and then incorporating components of the occult into some parapsychological experiments that take place in controlled lab settings. And he is strongly arguing that the occult is exactly what we're dealing with here, and or what the occult is trying to tap into, I should say it this way, is what paranormal stuff is, specifically psychokinetic, personal clairvoyance. These things, these paranormal abilities that people may have, are stemming from, or they're using the same playbook, even though some people will use the occult to try to achieve what others who are just naturally talented or gifted with paranormal abilities are achieving, sometimes unwillingly or unknowingly, and can be, in fact, burdened with such abilities. It's wild, man. That's all I can tell you. Especially when we were talking about Theurgy. Theurgy involves communication with disembodied entities. Now, when I go back to Post Town, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm attempting Theurgy. Theurgy, however you pronounce it. Theurgy. Theurgy. This is paranormal communication, whether it's ITC or whether it's whatever it is. Like, if you just, less techno, you want to use a spirit box, you want to use a reverse voice, simulator, or you want to use EMF readers for paranormal activity. How are you communicating with disembodied entities? That is what a ghost is. Arguably, it is one way you can define or frame what a ghost may be, a disembodied entity. No longer with physical form, what I call the after form. I just like saying after form better than afterlife, because is life even real if death isn't real? I went down that rabbit hole recently, so I just don't really feel like I can talk about dying if I'm not even 100% convinced that I'm even living, if that makes sense to you. So I don't know. I've got a few other books on the queued up that I need to read after this. One of them is the Alan Watts book, UFO Visitations. And there's always more books to read. I got a book about Sirius, the star, and all the mythology and the ufology that ties into Sirius. I do know that when we were in Post Town, there's something interesting happening when we did the C5. And, I'm leading myself down this road, yes. And would I have just put this together without this? I am not sure. But doing a lot of at-home, after the investigation research, trying to piece together puzzles here about this investigation, about who I believe we may in fact have been communicating with, things start to get pretty interesting. And by pretty interesting, I mean my interest is peaked and I'm incredibly excited. We had some intense moments during the investigation. Specifically, we had some really great moments with Cameron Rontowski's dog, the boss, Courage, and Sonia, the animal communicator with whom Courage has such a strong bond and relationship with. And we were getting such spot-on information from Sonia via Courage that it was bonkers. It was, I've never, what's the best way to say this? I've never lived my life by what a dog told me to do before. So, at least through the human language. We all know dogs train us, but I've never specifically behaved in ways or made choices because the dog said to do it. And that is what was happening at Post Town last October. And I've been teaching myself After Effects and getting, honed up on Adobe Premiere because I've been using Final Cut for, I don't know, the last 10 years. So switching over to a new video editing software there's been a steep learning curve for me. But we're getting there. I've been spending a ton of time these last, the last month and a half or so, trying to learn how to even do all this on Adobe. And I'm really excited to show you a lot of the footage. I haven't even had a chance. I mean, there's so much footage from October. I haven't even had time to go over the December investigation I did with Eric from Epic Paranormal, Eric Connor, who's been on the show. What a fun guy. His girlfriend was there with us as well during the December investigation. I haven't even had a chance to look at that footage, and there was some fun stuff happening there as well. I can tell you this. I believe, I'll just give you a teaser. I believe I have some leads on who or what we may have been communicating with while we were there after we did some CE5 stuff. And it is going to be the focus of at least a part of the investigation when I go back with Karen and Matthew. And we're going to see what happens. Because here's the thing, too, and this is something I've been playing with in my mind, and I just thought about this. Excuse me. When you watch like a paranormal documentary, they always make you wait for like the good stuff. They kind of, not that they draw it out. Okay, that's not necessarily what I'm saying. But they make you wait for the big piece of evidence that maybe they caught on camera or caught on audio. I don't think I want to do that. And I guess the question becomes, is the rest of it interesting enough for people who are into the paranormal to keep watching after, the golden egg is revealed, all the golden eggs are revealed immediately? Does it keep the viewer watching? And is that even, I guess, necessarily important? I will say this. It occurred to me, it was probably yesterday I was having this thought where I was like, why not just give it to them all at once? And then the rest of it becomes, well, what does that mean? And why did that happen? Paranormal television typically has been working backwards from that. Or in opposite, that would be me working backwards from that. I mean, there is an example, though, on Expedition Bigfoot. And I don't want to give you spoilers away, but it's season 1 or season 2, I can't remember. They show you like a really awesome piece of evidence right at the beginning. And so it's not like it's not like people are never doing it. It has been done in small bits and pieces. But what I'm talking about here is starting off with here's all the best stuff. That is the eye-popping, ear-grabbing, quote-unquote, evidence. And as you know here, over at me and Paranormal U headquarters, I believe that personal experiences count as evidence. And I don't want to be this bastard, but you can't convince me they don't, is what I'll say. And if you're scientifically minded and that offends you, okay, enjoy your offense. Being offended is always a choice. Can we remember that? That when people get offended, they hate to hear that. It's not a choice. You've forced me to be offended here. You've offended my sensibilities about what can be accepted as real. The scientific community is still so far behind in acknowledging the legitimacy of paranormal activity and paranormal phenomena, even though the studies, the experiments are there. The skeptic tells us that no scientific experiment has ever truly proven psi-ability, and this is obviously incorrect. And Dean Radin does a great job in Real Magic about laying a lot of this stuff out. He's been in the field of parapsychology for decades. He's been at the forefront of many innovative lab experiments that are controlled, and he does a great job of laying out the evidence and saying, you can't believe what you read in, like, whether it's Slate magazine or the New Yorker or whatever, where they try to dissuade their readers from believing the evidence from a psychologist who has made a crazy claim. Can you believe it? Or this experiment was weird. Did they prove that death wasn't real? Or did they prove you could communicate? Or did they prove blah, 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 blah? Or does the future affect the present? Did they prove that? Watch the TV series Dark. Oh, on Netflix. It's German. Watch it with subtitles. Don't do the dubbing. Let those actors act. What a good show. Oh, Dark. I miss you. I miss you, Dark. Radin does a great job of laying this out, of citing the specific studies and the years and years of actual repeatableness, because that is the key to science. It has to be repeatable by an independent researcher who can repeat this experiment and get similar, if not the same, results. That is what makes science science, right? And it's been done. That has been done. And when journalists who maybe research something for a day or two, or skeptics who just kind of parrot other things they've heard, tell you that it has not been, that is incorrect. I've actually bookmarked some of this, I believe, in case, I recommend reading this book. I mean, you shouldn't just be listening to what I say and then going around, well, this is true, Singer said it. I mean, but you can do that. Here we go. This is one of the ones I was actually directly referencing just now. In May 17, 2017, there was an article in Slate magazine. We find academic psychologists panicking because Bem, who is a psychologist, had gone to crazy land, quote unquote, and broke science. Perhaps someday when our super smart robot overlords are in charge, they'll do a better job at reporting science news because they won't have hair on their shiny metal heads, and thus they won't have to tear their hair out every time an experiment challenges their naive beliefs about the nature of time and causation. Bem's findings would upend what we understand about the nature of time and causation. It would be a big deal. Bem's paper, Feeling the Future, was widely ridiculed and failed to replicate, though Bem himself has stood by his results, when in fact it has not failed to replicate. This is one of those examples. Radin writes, if we just calmly stick with the experimental facts, there is no question that Bem's experiment is in fact repeatable. And that means we're influenced not only by our past, but also by our future, as seers throughout history have tried to tell us. We didn't even get into J.B. Ryan yet. There have been 90 replications of Bem's experiment and literally hundreds of other experiments on precognition with positive results published since 1935. When it comes to controversial topics such as precognition, zombie myths, ideas that die hard, take on a life of their own. In the March 17, 2017 issue of the Chronicle of Higher Education, we find an article mentioning Bem as a, quote, quirky psychologist, because if his claims about precognition are true, then all hell will break loose. And the previous quote from that article about Bem's finding would upend what we understand about the nature of time and causation was from that. So what you have here is just lazy journalism. But when that is probably something very easy to find through a Google search, it is a somewhat mainstream publication or a journal that is respected, or a newspaper kind of situation, media that has journalists, which are held to certain standards, saying that, writing that, rather. So these are the things that are on the internet. And this is why skeptics dig in their heels. Because they read these and they're like, oh, yeah, it's not repeatable. I said it in the article. Why would the guy lie to me? Or gal? Why would the person lie to me? Well, they're not lying to you. They're uninformed. They're uneducated about the truth. So is it a lie of omission of research? Who knows? I mean, over here in the paranormal world, with all the claims I've made on here over the past 8 years, do you think I'm gonna call someone a liar because of lack of research? Oh, that's a little bit like, the kettle having a conversation of some not kind words with the pot, if I do say so myself. There's just absolutely no way any of us can know everything all the time about all things. Can we just accept that? Can there be paranormal experts when everything is so unknown? I don't know. You can definitely have a lot of dirt under your nails when it comes to the paranormal. You can have, a lot of mud caked into the sole of your boots when it comes to the paranormal. Can you definitively tell everyone what everything is without a doubt? No, that you can't. Do you have a solution for every problem or every, unsolvable equation? No, you don't. No, we don't at this time. Or maybe that kind of limited thinking is, as I would tell my girlfriend hates it when she'll say something negative, and I'll be like, well, not with that attitude, you can't. Like if when someone says they can't do something, I always say, no, well, not with that attitude, you can't. And so why am I doing that right now? Maybe we can, in fact, get all the answers. And maybe the answers are going to be so simple, so darn simple, so stupid simple, that when we get them, we're just going to be like, are you serious? The whole time, my car keys were in my hand as I was looking for them the whole damn time. I think that's probably the answer to all paranormal questions. The car keys are in our hand while we're looking for our car keys. Consciousness is the answer. Answering it with an unanswerable, because we don't know what consciousness is. Consciousness still has not been defined or understood in any kind of real way. It's interesting because I've been very hell-bent about just like, we don't need science validating us over here, okay? Let's stop trying to take our worth, feeling worth and feeling valid in our experiences or our beliefs after, having so many conversations with people or having so many experiences ourselves firsthand. We don't need science to validate us. We don't need science to tell us it's real. We don't need science to make us feel like we're not crazy. And yet then you have someone like Dean Radin, who has devoted his life to the scientific study of psi phenomena, the paranormal. And he is saying it's all magic. Greenfield is saying that the occult is the bedrock for communicating with UFOs. Radin is saying that magic and the occult and old esoteric teachings are what people with psi abilities are naturally doing without the occult. And the occult is all of this stuff trying to get to where these people maybe naturally have this talent. So, what is the connection between Sasquatch and the occult? If if what I believe is true about consciousness is the thread that has quilted all these different blankets, whether it's Bigfoot, ghosts, aliens, psi phenomena, etc. And the occult, or is the occult the needle that's doing the sewing? It's interesting. It's an interesting layer I wasn't anticipating, and that I didn't think I would be getting into or musing about. So it's got to work for all of them, does it not? Is Bigfoot connected to esoteric teachings, wisdom, the occult? Where is Bigfoot? And then this just occurs to me as I'm talking right now, and maybe it's too perfect. Occult means hidden. I mean, if you're watching the video, you can see my face right now. The occult means hidden. Bigfoot is the definition of hidden. I just thought of this as we're talking right now, as I'm laying this all out. Is this enough? Is it too simple? Or is this the car keys in the hand when you're looking for your car keys? Bigfoot is he's like, it's the living representation of a cult. Do you see? Do I sound like I've lost all of my marbles? Hey, man, you still got marbles, man. You got them in that Crown Royal bag, man. Thank you, Todd. I used to love drinking Crown Royal. It's been a long time since I've had some Crown Royal. Bullet bourbon more nowadays, even though it's rare that I even have an adult beverage, even when I'm trying to relax. Maybe I should just start drinking bourbon again. I'm not an alcoholic, so that's not why I don't drink, in case you were worried. Bigfoot is hidden. On the surface, it might sound a little too simple. Sound a little too easy to tie Sasquatch into the occult by just that, but on the surface of things. I would not be surprised if I'm stumbling upon some further connection in the near future. I mean, because I'm still trying to wrap my brain around the occult and its connection to psi phenomena, so paranormal stuff. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around the occult and communication with aliens. So trying to get into figuring out the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch connection to the occult right now. And it might be super obvious and it might be super simple, incredibly simple. And I'm just not even thinking about it right now. And if you are thinking of it and you already know that there is a connection and you're like, well, Ryan, let me tell you what that connection is. I would love for you to tell me what that connection is. Comment on the YouTube video. Smash that subscribe button. Is that what the kids say? Or send me an email or call the Mind Line. Leave a message. Hit me up on the Instagram. Let me know. Because if there's a book or if there's writings out there that are establishing that connection, I think it's time we brought them all together and started working on real unification theory when it comes to the paranormal. I do believe when breakthroughs in understanding consciousness are made in the future, a lot of this stuff is going to be just so no duh, right? It's going to be so, well, that's obvious. And so much of the laughable or the kooky or the strange is going to become just everyday knowledge. I believe for that to happen, we'll need a few more breakthroughs. I'm thinking about breakfast. Thinking about taking a break for breakfast, a breakthrough. And we'll need a few more breakthroughs in the understanding and the true nature of consciousness. And do we rely on science for those breakthroughs, or do we just listen or read from some of the greatest enlightened teachers throughout history when it comes to such things? Those breakthroughs have already occurred, one might argue quite convincingly, who had a better memorization skill than me and could just list off a bunch of these books or a bunch of these teachings, right? Whether it's Ram Dass, whether it's Yogananda, whether it's, Muhammad, whether it's Christ, whether it's, Edgar Cayce, whether it's, the Book of Ra, the Law of What, or the Law of What, or shit, I can't remember. I'm not mocking it. Bigfoot's hidden. The occult means hidden. Next week on Me and Paranormal You, Ryan ascribes great meaning to the simplest coincidence of words. You don't want to miss it. Next week on Mappy. Am I the only one who calls it Mappy? Am I the only one who calls this podcast, Mindcast, Mappy? Me and Paranormal You as an acronym? I mean, all of my files, all my folders on my computer, my hard drive, I've got, how many? I don't even know how many external hard drives I've got with all the files over the last 8 years. Needless to say, I never thought I'd have to buy this many external hard drives. Now, especially with video as well. But Mappy, I just call it Mappy in my head. So when people are talking about my podcast, I'm like, oh, you listen to Mappy? People are like, what the fuck are you talking about? I didn't have to say F-bomb. That's the first one I used. I don't care. I'm a grown-up. Like, also, thank you for listening to Mappy, everybody. Thank you for listening to Mappy. I think Mappy deserves its own new mascot. Some kind of like, I think the perfect mascot would be like a UFO, or not a UFO necessarily, like a ghost alien Sasquatch, like cartoon character with psychokinetic abilities, obviously, and would travel around in a UFO. But like a mishmash of all of those things together. Maybe like with a sigil T-shirt on, or wearing a witch's hat, or with a scepter of some kind, a wand. But yeah, that would be the Mappy. Hey, look, it's Mappy. And Mappy dances out. Hey, everybody, you want to listen to some paranormal stuff or some Bigfoot stuff, some cryptid stuff, some esoteric? You want some secret society information? I'm Mappy. Da, 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 da. And he does a tap dance. Because he does a tap dance like Mr. Peanut. Does Mr. Peanut tap dance? It doesn't matter if Mr. Peanut tap dances. Mappy's going to tap dance. Okay? And hey, Peanut Company, can sue me if they think there's too much of a likeliness. Sue me, Mr. Peanut. I'd like to see Mr. Peanut and Mappy face off in court. I'd love to see that. Mr. Peanut's asked by his attorney, can you point out the individual in this room who has stolen your likeliness for tap dancing with a small little cane/wand? And Mr. Peanut adjusts his monocle. There he is, right there. And then Mappy's like, oh, me? I'm not an individual. I am everything and everyone. I'm Mappy. Okay, did we play that out far enough? Did we play that out? I haven't been on stage in too long. I got some tour dates coming up. Check out ryansingercomedy.com. You can /tour. You can find some stuff there. Crystallize is out. We've got 200 more crystals getting worked on right now to add to our identification capabilities. So soon we'll have a robust nearly 300 crystals that the app will be able to identify, and it will get smarter over time. So a year from now, the app's going to be even more incredible than it is now. We've got incredible partners that we've teamed up with. Very, very soon, we are in the works of getting ready to start bringing you our very first ethically sourced vendor. So if you want ethically sourced crystals, we're going to be providing you with that through the app. So we're super excited for that. That's coming soon. And what a cool partner they're going to be. I'm very excited. My conversations with them have been so enjoyable that I can't wait to start, providing that for users who want to feel good about feeling good and be a more conscious consumer when it comes to your crystals. Because crystals are real. Crystals are very real. It's a full moon. Get your crystals out there. Charge them up. I got a crystallized charging jar. That's what I'm using. I will be taking my crystals outside after I'm done here and putting them out on the old deck, or the old balcony, as it were. The old apartment balcony. Hi, I'm an apartment balcony. I'm covered in smog and smut every 48 hours, no matter how well you clean me. I'm the apartment balcony. And then it coughs because it's, breathing smog out in Los Angeles all the time. I'm going to buy a house in Ohio. Anyway, what else did I want to tell you? Instagram, give me a follow at Ryan Singer. I'm on TikTok, Ryan Singer Comedy. You can find me, or Rice Sing. I still don't know all the TikTok rules, but I'm having fun posting these ridiculous characters over on TikTok. Plus, I'm putting up paranormal clips and then also stand-up clips over on TikTok. Patreon. I've got 2 new levels on Patreon. I've been posting some potential ideas for opening sequence titles for the documentary. I'm posting those over there. I'm posting all kinds of other stuff. So there's 2 new levels. The top 2 levels, get you almost everything. Well, the top level obviously gets you everything. But thank you to everybody who's been there at the $1 level and the $3 level for so long. Appreciate you. I love you. Your support goes a long way. And if you want to go higher than that, I suggest going higher than that, because you're getting all kinds of crazy, weird, interesting content. The highest level is more than just the Paranormal Podcast. It's everything that I'm creating as a comedian, as a writer, as an actor, as a paranormal enthusiast, and an investigator, a podcast host, etc. All kinds of stuff going on at the very, very top level. So if you want everything from the creative world of me, I suggest going that level, and you'll get it. And what else? All of this shit's connected, and we're finding more and more clues of people who have been connecting the smaller parts of it, showing us that the larger is connected. And so once we find that occult Bigfoot connection, which, I might already know, I just have to go through the FBI vault on the Bigfoot files again. I didn't go through and read every line of every document from the FBI when they released their Bigfoot vault files, but maybe I can go back into that. I'm looking here. I've got a folder that is just called PDFs, paranormal PDFs, where anytime I come across something interesting that is downloadable, I just click download. So I got to go back through there because I got all kinds of crazy stuff in there. I think I have the the Book of One, or the Raw material in there. And I don't think I finished reading all of that. Anyway, I'll keep you posted on what I'm reading. Right now, like I said, I'm reading Real Magic by Dean Radin. Can't recommend this book enough. It's been very, very enjoyable, very illuminating. And boy, oh boy, are all these things coming together. Updates on Post Town and the documentary and the stand-up special coming soon. That'll be out this year, 100%. It'll be out this year, and it'll be out probably before the summer. So I'll obviously be plugging the hell out of that when it happens, and your support and sharing it, helping it go around the internet, making it go viral, will be much, much appreciated, getting my stand-up out there. So, okay, I love you. I hope you love yourself, and I hope to see you at a live stand-up comedy show soon. But if I don't, I'll just see you at the watering hole on the astral plane.